us more about the blue economy as promised earlier on. However, for now, let's take a look at what is happening in Mombasa, because the African Engineers Conference is underway, and it gives us a special focus on positioning female engineers in leadership positions. We now go live to our reporter Tobias Chanji, who will be speaking to the president of Federation of African Engineers Organization, Julius Ryungu, on the engineering situation both in Kenya and the African continent at large.
Viewers, you are watching us from Pride Inn Hotel in Mombasa County for the 5th conference of Africa Engineering Week, which is happening as from today till Friday this week. And joining me in studio is the Federation of African Engineers Organization President Julius Ryungu. Though your mandate is in the entire continent of Africa, we just want to have your views on the Kenyan perspective. We're seeing that we have almost 12,000 graduates from Kenya, but at the moment we only have 2,000 professionals. Welcome to our studio, and just tell us why this shortage.
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon, viewers. Yes, it's true that this week's affairs are being focused on Africa. This is, we call it Africa Engineering Week. And the function really is to ensure that we can be able to, as engineers from Africa, sit together and discuss about the engineering affairs in this continent. This is the 5th time that we're having it, and we hold it in different countries. We started in South Africa, we came down to Zimbabwe, went to Nigeria, and last year we were in Rwanda, and Kenya was tasked with having the week this particular year. The activities of the week starts off on a Monday and ends on a Friday, and it involves us discussing various issues on African engineering affairs, having a conference to discuss a matter that is very pertinent to Africa. Now, you realize that we have got a shortage of engineers in Africa, and as you mentioned, most of our countries, yes, have got graduates coming from universities, and in Kenya, as you mentioned, we have got 12,000 engineers. We would like to have all these graduate engineers become professional engineers. The process of becoming an engineer starts with your training, academic training in the university, which is entirely academic. The curriculum that is adopted in most of the countries in Africa is academic-based for the 5 years, or 3 years, or 4 years, depending on the program that one is following. When you become now a graduate engineer, as a student, for me, you graduate from a student to a graduate engineer. Engineering is a very practical subject. You cannot just go and do engineering right from the university. You need to go through a training program that is now administered by the various regulatory bodies, so that your competence can be trained, can be tested. And at the end of the program, your competence is tested and you're given a license to practice as an engineer. You all agree that if you get a graduate from the university with academic knowledge and you put him into the workforce, it will be very difficult for him to adjust and to know exactly what to do, because he hasn't gained that practical knowledge. In Kenya, the Engineers Board of Kenya has prescribed a 2-year period, and this is common across the world, a 2-year practical training period, that the engineer is working under professional engineers. The graduate engineer, rather, is working on professional engineers, after which he is allowed a year or 2 of practical experience to demonstrate his competencies in engineering. Then he is expected to apply for a test, both oral and written, and then he is assessed by his peers whether he really has achieved that standard. And when that is determined, he is then given a license to practice on his own. We call that a professional engineer. Now, you realize this is a voluntary choice. The fact that you have done engineering in the university doesn't mean you want to become a professional engineer. We have a lot of our engineers training graduating in engineering, but they decide to to other professions.
Yes, but there are those critics who read malice. They say that maybe the older generation is curtailing the younger generation to become professionals because of competition.
Well, that is very far from the truth. The amount of work that we have in this country, in African countries and across the world for engineers is so vast that there's no need to limit the number of people who are getting in. But then you realize that you must ensure that those people who are getting in are going to do designs, structures, and systems that are safe for human beings. We want to protect life. One of the things of the engineers is we must protect life. So unless you are sure that the person you are giving a license is capable of carrying the work safely, following the necessary standards, and ensuring that the structures or systems that they put in place are safe for to protect the human life, that will not be done. So we have got so much work for engineers that sort of feeling that we are trying to limit the number entering in is not right. However, we have challenges in as far as training of engineers is concerned. And that's why I would like to come in and appeal to the governments across Africa. Just like they take doctors and train them practically in government hospitals and pay them to do that, and then they produce the doctors at the end of the day. Let's take engineering in the same manner. Let's take our graduates coming from the universities, send them through a structured training program, and at the end of that particular program, they become professionals and they get licensed. What is happening right now in most of the countries in Africa is that graduates leave university and they look for jobs themselves. The challenge here comes when they go to offices, to various institutions looking for jobs. The employers are looking for experienced people. These graduates don't have any experience. As such, they are unlikely to get jobs. And when they get jobs, they decide to move elsewhere they can earn a living. And my appeal to the governments of Africa is that let's take engineering as the main driver of development in our nations. Let's focus more on these particular graduates coming from the universities. Let's invest in them so that as soon as they leave university, we put them into a program where they will be practically trained to become professionals.